I find this kind of funny. Uh, some Pentagon documents got leaked, so now our allies in Ukraine know we've been spying on them, and other allies as well. And uh, even though uh, what it's not the first time we've been caught spying on our allies, and it's not like all nations don't spy on each other. It's just the United States doesn't like when other people know that they're spying on them.
The Department of Justice has now launched an investigation into the leak of Pentagon documents that were posted online. U.S. officials have confirmed that some of the documents are authentic. The leak poses a serious risk to relationships with U.S. allies and military options in Ukraine. But there is also a concern from Ukraine that the documents may have been altered or may be part of a misinformation campaign. For perspective on this, joining us now is retired U.S. Army Major Mike Lyons. I mean, this is astounding because what these documents show, one, is, as the New York Times put it, that the U.S. has basically penetrated every Russian security apparatus, has great insight into it. But as David Singer writes in the New York Times today, this is a disclosure because it's fallout in real time because some of these documents aren't even 40 days old. So you can actually see what they know right now about what's happening in Ukraine.
Wow, only 40 days old. Whoever has access to this type of information should be the people being scrutinized. But if the United States has such great intel on like Russian military and stuff, can we just give that information to the Ukrainian people and they could more easily take out Russian forces?
Yeah, that's right. I'm having a hard time getting my head around this. I mean, if there's 50 classified documents, there's 50 separate stories that are going to impact on the ground in Ukraine right now. The fact that they gave away their air defense platforms and where those locations were, the fact troop movements, they're talking about artillery rounds. We all know that Ukraine is running out of artillery. So this level of breach is significant. And the fact that we're kind of asleep at the switch, we had indications it was going on the past few months. We've got to do a better job monitoring these sites, these Discord sites that have this kind of information out there. It came from the highest levels of our government, the joint staff. These documents, they were removed obviously from a briefing. They were pictures of these presentations. So again,
Why isn't like the security around these types of documents more secure?
damage assessment, I still think, is going on, and it's very significant. And now all these holes are likely getting closed up. It's going to cause significant trust issues between us and Ukraine.
But it does put into perspective, don't you think, the story that we've been covering about all these classified documents that are ending up, at personal residences and so forth, just the danger that this poses, correct?
Yeah, it does, Donna. It's not just overclassification. This is serious stuff.
Right.
I mean, this is, things get overclassified based on it might embarrass things within our country. This has national security implications on the ground, signals intelligence, so to speak. It shows us eavesdropping on our allies. It speaks to the fact that humans now, human intelligence sources could be burned on the ground. People could be, lives are at stake now with this kind of stuff.
And Caitlin makes such a good point about like real time, right now, information about Ukraine, et cetera. But at the same time, what was also included in the reporting from the Times over the weekend is sensitive briefing slides on China, sort of the entire Indo-Pacific military theater, the Middle East, terrorism. It goes so far even beyond the current conflict. I mean, considering relations with, look what China and Taiwan, look what's happening right now. Yeah,
so the intelligence agencies now have got to focus on this to close gaps, mitigate risk, figure out what the damage is with regards to this information, taking our eye off the ball on what's happening in the Pacific. China, Russia could use this against our democratic allies and say, look, why should you trust the United States? You're going to give them information. Some of this information came from other countries.
I mean, other nations already know that the United States is spying on them. Germany knows that. What got caught? United States got caught. I forgot under which admin. I think it was Obama. Getting caught, or maybe it was Trump. But anyways, United States got caught spying on Germany, and Germany didn't really like it, but I mean, we're still allies with them.
It had certain classifications that only certain other countries had, New Zealand, Australia, not even normal NATO allies, so to speak. So this is a significant breach up there with Snowden, WikiLeaks, and with regard. I hope we're closing ranks pretty quickly to figure out what happened.
And the point that David Sanger makes with Snowden is those were things were 3 years old.
Right.
And this is because of how new this is. Eavesdropping on allies, spying on allies, not exactly a surprise. Everyone knows it, everyone does it, but it's the idea that it's put out in the forefront can cause tension in those relationships.
Yeah, it's the idea that nations are, consciously aware that they're being spied on, that they don't like it, and that's the problem. Not that, people are actually spying on each other. But, no, spying is a problem.
What I was most struck by was what they said about what's happening in Israel. And there was essentially this allegation of this intelligence that Mossad is basically the spy chiefs in Israel had helped foment the protests that we saw play out that we've been covering here every day when it comes to the judicial reform that's happening in Israel.
Yeah.
Mossad is wanting to help foment protest against the government. Usually, the Mossad agents are there to, create unrest. I mean, it's kind of, creating some unrest. But the protests are good, and it's fighting against, Netanyahu wanting to turn the Israeli government to a completely fascist government.
Gets to the reason why these documents were released. Did someone have this level of intellect that recognized that would cause that kind of a problem? But again, that came from signals intelligence, signals operations, eavesdropping, so to speak. And whether or not the United States had any say in that really remains to be seen. But the person who released this information clearly wanted to hurt the U.S.-Israel relations with that kind of breach.
Yeah. And just all right.
Well, okay, this is what will hurt U.S.-Israeli relationships, not the Israeli government, committing a genocide against the Palestinian people or anything like that. It's the fact that they know that the United States has been spying on them. That is shit.
Our allies' relationships, as you said, it's not surprising that everybody spies on everyone, but still, it's not out there for everyone to read.
Well, and remember whenever it was reported about, with Merkel when she was the German chancellor, and it caused a huge rift with the Obama White House.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, underneath Obama.
Yeah, just amazing. I mean, we'll continue to see where this investigation goes. Thank you for stating the significance.